Good afternoon. Everyone ready? Good afternoon. I'm Terry Monahan, the Chief of Department. Joining me today is Chief Dermot Shea, the Chief of Detectives, and Chief Jimmy Secreto, the Chief of Housing. The update I'm about to give you regarding yesterday's officer-involved firearms discharge is preliminary, as the investigation is still ongoing. Last night, 2 anti-crime officers from Police Service Area 5 were attired in plain clothes and on patrol in an unmarked department vehicle. A few minutes before 9 p.m., they conducted a car stop of a black BMW sedan in the vicinity of 96th Street and 2nd Avenue. While interviewing the driver of the BMW, the officers detected a strong odor of marijuana coming from inside the vehicle, which we believe was occupied by a total of 4 individuals. Suddenly, the BMW began to flee the location, striking the officer on the driver's side on the left elbow, causing an injury, and striking the officer on the passenger side in the hand, causing an injury. The officers returned to their vehicle and began to pursue the BMW as it proceeded southbound on the FDR Drive. The pursuit was terminated as the BMW attempted to exit the FDR Drive at the closed-off ramp next to the Con Edison facility near 15th Street. The BMW came to a stop at the dead end, at which point the officers approached the vehicle again. It was then that the BMW reversed direction, nearly striking one of the officers and ramming their vehicle. The BMW was able to reverse back onto the FDR Drive, where it continued southbound. As the BMW passed the officer, who was standing on the southbound right shoulder of the highway, one of the officers discharged his firearm at that moving vehicle. Upon review of the body-worn camera footages from this incident, it appears at this time the officer who discharged his firearm at the moving vehicle may have done so in violation of department guidelines. As a result, he has been placed on modified assignment. This change in duty status is pending the outcome of the complete investigation by our Force Investigation Division. As of this time, the individual that was driving that vehicle has been placed under arrest. She is identified as Veronica Jagdio. A second individual, who is a passenger in the car, had walked into Queens General Hospital last night with an injury to his left shoulder. That injury is caused by some sort of fragment, whether it's metal or glass. We have not been able to determine at this time. He is currently being held on a parole warrant. Again, this is all preliminary as the investigation ongoes, so I'll open it up to questions. Which name you want? Jagdeo. 23. It's still pending Manhattan DA's office in consultation with Force Investigations determining the charges. We're still working on that. If the vehicle is coming at you or is causing a immediate danger to an individual on the street, but you can't fire at a vehicle that is proceeding away from you. We can get to you at a later time. I don't have it right now. 6 rounds. If you believe that vehicle was about to go ram people, if it's driving on a sidewalk, that's what that sort of was put in place for, but not a vehicle fleeing down an open highway. Smoking marijuana is still illegal in New York City at this point in time, plus driving a vehicle under the influence of marijuana would be illegal. So there's a few different violations that they're investigating. We had one person in the car who had an open parole violation warrant on him, so that could have been a reason, but that's all part of the investigation in back. Observed the vehicle with heavy tint. When they approached the vehicle, they had the strong odor of marijuana coming from the vehicle. We're still looking, still part of the active investigation. That was all part of the investigation. Not the registered owner, but our investigators were able to pick her up earlier today. I'm not sure. I'd have to get back there now. I believe it's a boyfriend, girlfriend. One officer fired 6 rounds. From the side. It should have been the side windows, I believe, were tinted. Too much tinting, yeah. You're supposed to be, you're only allowed a certain amount of tint within a vehicle, so you can see into it for safety reasons. And so the driver can actually see out of the car safely. No. No. Again, that was all part of the investigation. I'm not going to go into the details on how we actually got it. Yes. Not yet. Yeah, it was covered just half a mile away from where the incident happened. He abandoned the vehicle, ran out of the vehicle, was left on the FDR drive. We're still obtaining a search warrant to search through the vehicle. Not that I'm aware of. I'm not sure. Veronica is arrested for the incident last night. She is the driver of the vehicle. She is the one who hit the officers with the car. The passenger is arrested based on an active parole warrant that he had on him. Yeah, that's Jason Mohammed. 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 26 years old. I'll get you before you ask it. The DA, we're in consultation with the DA. Right now, we're only looking at charges on the female for the incident of hitting the officers. Yes, the 2 partners get out of the car, one on each side of the car. As they're talking to the individuals in the car takes off. One officer's left arm on the driver's side gets hit, and the hands of the other officer on the right side get hit. No. They were the only officers on the scene when the vehicle was stopped. Both times. The anti-crime officer. The original anti-crime officer who hurt his left elbow on the driver's side is the anti-crime officer who fired the shots. No, on the FDR drive. I believe it's 7 minutes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. The only from the shooting officer. No. He's out on the side of the highway. The car is driving towards him. He starts firing at the vehicle as it's driving towards him while he's standing on the shoulder of the road. He's from where we see on the body cam video, again, it's still active. The car is driving by him, past him, and he continues firing at it. So it's all part of our active investigation. Thank you very much. No, off topic. I forgot all about that. Yeah, Derek, you're up.
You can keep going. Yeah, I'm going to have to get back to you. Myself or Chief Chan will get back to you. Yeah. No, and that's an update. That's an update. It's a homicide in the vicinity of the Red Hook houses from 2016, so about 2.5, 3 years ago. And unfortunately, we don't have that case closed with an arrest yet. So that's one of the things we periodically do. We're going to look to do more, working with Crime Stoppers. In the room now is some people that are instrumental in trying to give Crime Stoppers a new boost. And what can we do differently, and how can we get out there into the community more often, revisit old cases, and this is an example of that. We need the public's help with this case. Back when it happened, we put out a request for media. It is still an open, unsolved homicide at this point, and this is, again, a cry for help from the public. Anyone with any information, no matter how insignificant you may think it is, information about this individual, please call Crime Stoppers at 577-TIPS. Yeah, just anyone with information. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, Rocco, but at this point, we're not able to charge anyone. You know, what we do know is that the victim here, Sharon, was on a park bench at some point, again, in the vicinity of the Red Hook houses. She's on the park bench with another individual. We also have grainy video from a distance of 2 individuals that were in the area that night. It's really not good enough to make an identification on. Anyone that may have information about her, her friends, anything they heard, please call Crime Stoppers. I'm going to have to get back to you on that accident. Really, it's Chief Chan's responsibility, and I don't want to step on any active investigation he has. Oh, we'll get back to you. Yep. Right after this, I'll make sure you get your answers. Rocco? 7-0 precinct. Yeah. So we actually, Rocco, I'm gonna back up a little before that incident because we had two shootings that same night, both in Brooklyn South. First in the 6-7 precinct, and we need your help on this one. In the 6-7 precinct, we had a homicide occur, and we have now, I think we'll put up a picture, or I have a picture that we can put out. We are looking to identify this individual. We have now identified this individual for that homicide in the 6-7 precinct. So anyone, please, that has any information on his whereabouts, that'll be up. We'll give you the information right after this. This is it is not a marijuana dispute. It's a dispute involving a number of individuals on the street. The individual, Talabi Kaba, comes home. There's a dispute. There's a multitude of people on the scene, but he winds up taking out a firearm, shooting into a car, causing an individual's demise. About a half hour later, that same night, is what you were referring to, Rocco. We do not have any connection between these two incidents at this point in time. We have the individual in the 7-0 precinct, 15-year-old victim, Samuel Joseph. That case remains open. I can tell you that the Brooklyn homicide and 7-0 detectives are making significant progress on that case, but it remains open at this time. Everything is in play. What we know is there's 2 individuals, at least, in that vicinity that are in the vicinity for some point in time. I can tell you we've received a number of tips from the community regarding this case. We've recovered a lot of video in that area, and again, there is progress being made. But we know that the victim's sister comes home. Somebody approaches the victim's sister asking about the older brother. The 15-year-old younger brother comes downstairs to let the sister into the building, and that's when the shooting occurs. So everything is on the table, all involved. We have nothing to indicate that anything negative in the past to this poor 15-year-old, and at this point it's a tragedy, another 15-year-old lost in Brooklyn. Tony? On the criminals case, I just want to say the work of the men and women in Queens detectives and Queens robbery, phenomenal. How they carried themselves, the men and women of the 102 squad. Regarding the friendly fire incident, if you will, there's been no change, and nor do we anticipate something. This is going to be a case where the ballistic evidence is inconclusive, and I don't expect that to change. Yeah, just what we've said publicly is where it stands now. The investigation, Rocco, though, is far from over regarding the 2 robberies, most recent, as well as you know, that was part of a 4-hit robbery pattern to begin with. And there may be other cases linked. So there's a lot of work being done regarding that. We are quite confident that Jagger was in the immediate vicinity of that crime, as he was charged with. No, there's a lot of work going on regarding that case. Nothing significant that I can report to you here today. regarding, and then we had a second incident in Queens, not that far away, that we obviously took a hard look at when that one occurred about within a week of that first incident. But we have had no definitive link between the two, and in fact, that second incident seems to be going in a different direction. Nobody's asking me about the 4-4, so I'm going to bring it up. Yeah. So I think we have another example of, this morning I was listening to the 9/11 calls of whether it's people in their apartments, people on the street. Obviously, the whole country, I think, has seen this video of the young girl walking, I think it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, give or take. 167th Street and Girard Avenue, a place I'm very familiar with in the 44th Precinct. And this is what this young girl is walking through. I'm happy to report significant progress. We have a person, we believe we have the shooter in custody as we speak. In terms of great work by our Bronx detectives. So we have an individual in custody. We expect him to be charged as an adult. His name is Edgar Garcia. And as this investigation, it still is fresh. There's a lot of work going on with Darcel Clark's office and the Bronx District Attorney, where we expect this to be prosecuted. He is an individual that's 16 years of age. And we believe this is an incident that stems from ongoing dispute between two gangs. One, a gang based on 116th Street in Manhattan, and one based locally in the 44th Precinct. Yep. Yeah. No, yep. Thank you for the question. And you talk about the 4-4 and the 4-6, and I think the two of us have a little bit of experience in both those commands. We are at the lowest level of shootings that New York City has seen since we've started keeping those records. That's not disputable. That's a fact. You see these incidents, and you see one of these incidents, and it grabs right at you, and that's also, Miles, that's a fact too. It's the fact is that we have video cameras now where we never did before. The good news is that when you see something like that, as terrible as it is, it causes a reaction, not just on the law enforcement side, on the district attorney side, on the people side. And this is what it's about. People that live in those communities that have to live with that. This is not something that was not going on 10 or 15 years ago. You're seeing it more, even though it's happening less. Just think about that. You're seeing it more now, but it's happening less. We have the lowest level of shootings. The incidence of shots being fired is down right consistent with that, and that's the good news. But I don't want to see that happen once in New York City, period. I'm sorry? We did receive, I really can't say enough Crime Stoppers and the work of the NCOs, pounding the pavement, old-fashioned, knocking on doors, talking to store owners. There's a couple bodegas right on that block. And on some incidents like this, we don't have to work too hard. People are outraged. So tips came into us, quick work by our Bronx detectives. He is off the street, and this investigation is not over. Anyone involved in this particular incident or any of the ones that led up to it, we will look to build a case on. Yes, sir. Homicides up. Yep.
Again, we're going to go deeper into this next week when we have our crime press conference. But if you look at it, shootings are down still citywide. Homicides are up, and I think I said this 6 months ago. When shootings are down, the difference between a homicide and a non-fatal shooting could be an inch with where that bullet goes. So this is something as concerning as it is, and we're looking at the different trends, and we'll go into great detail on it on Monday. But it's something I'm sure we're going to get a handle on very quickly. Any other questions? Absolutely. I'm very concerned. Brooklyn is showing a dramatic increase. We have some meetings going on, and I'll go into deeper detail on Monday with Eric Gonzalez about prosecutions, but we have a concern. Again, that's Tommy Chan is something we'll have him get back to you, give you a whole story from the CIS point of view.
Okay, thank you.